He's going to turn on my mic. Give me a second. Okay. Good morning, and happy Valentine's Day. I flew out from Southern California, so I'm not used to this type of weather. And on top of that, I was actually supposed to come out here with my wife for Valentine's Day. And unfortunately, right the Tuesday night, right when we were packing, all three of my kids came down with 102 temperatures. And so I will be eating alone at some restaurant around here tonight. So if you see me, please come by and say hello. So my name is Mercado. I've been with Google for just around 10 years. Please don't look at me and think that I'm really old. I was part of the beginning part of search and actually was one of the first people within the mobile ad sales team. And so very familiar with what's happening within the mobile space and very excited to be here at Mobile Insider and speaking directly with a lot of you. So I don't think I need to go into too much detail about how important mobile is to everyone. And specifically within Google, you can see what a change Google has, how much mobile has meant to Google overall. 25% apps have been downloaded on Google Play. And I think the one part that I found interesting in the slide was that 80% of people never leave home without their phones, and I think that number is actually kind of low. But what's fascinating is that 1 in 3 people would rather give up their television versus their phone, right? And it shows how integral these devices are as part of our lives. And at Google, we work really hard to make sure that our advertisers fully understand the value and power of mobile. In many cases, we worked with many organizations in changing how they engage with their consumers, making sure that their sites are mobile friendly, making sure that they fully understand how the consumers are interacting. But as mobile marketers become more savvier, we're realizing that our conversations around mobile optimized landing pages and mobile ads are going to be something of the past. We're starting to have larger discussions and deeper discussions around how does mobile complement your in-store experience, or how do we measure the full value of mobile that will help your business. Now, as mobile marketers, you guys fully understand that mobile works. But at Google, we think there are 2 key things that need to change in the next couple of years that will help mobile get to the next level. One is getting away from targeting devices and really focusing on context. And number 2 is understanding the full value of mobile. But first, let's understand where we came from a couple of years ago. Now, it's hard to believe that 5 years ago, only 1% of the global traffic coming to these mobile devices only 1% was coming to these mobile devices. There's only 10 million Android devices sold at that time. I had one of the early Android devices. That number is pretty fair. And the first iPad we were still a year away from the first iPad. Then when we fast forward to today, or at least from last year, 13% of the global internet traffic is coming from mobile devices, with twice as many smartphone and tablets being shipped out versus desktop and laptops. And we look at 1.3 million Android devices being activated daily, 120 million tablets being sold each year. And it's because these devices are becoming easier to use. The interface is so easy to use. The price points are dropping. Now you can get an iPhone as low as $100, and there's even some Android devices as low as $50, that more and more consumers have both a PC, laptop, tablet, and mobile devices. And because of this, they're constantly connected at all times. And it was our own Eric Schmidt that had said that we live in 2 states, a state of being asleep or a state of being online. And we're no longer even going online anymore, we're just being online. We're always connected. And this is data that kind of backs up that statement. So what you have here is the hourly distribution of searches by platform. You see it by laptop, tablet, and by phone. And what you can see is that as consumers wake up in the morning, and you guys are aware of this, the first thing that you reach for is your mobile device, if it's your tablet next to your bed, or if it's your phone. As you commute, you're still on your phone, you're still on your tablet, doing searches, reading some articles. And then as soon as you get to work, you log into your laptop onto your PC, excuse me. You log into your PC, then you're connected there, and then when you continue on commuting home, you log back into your phone and back to your tablet. And it's this constant connectivity that we think is going to change how consumers interact. Excuse me. But when you think about the context between these different devices, a tablet device, it's more for entertainment, more for shopping. When you think of a laptop or your desktop, it's more for productivity. Then we think of a mobile device, it's more on the go, constantly connected. And it's this context that we think is going to change, really, what we want to try to shift within marketers and start thinking about. And so depending on, when you reach for your devices and you want to do a search or you're trying to look up some information, the context of where the device that you choose is really based off the context that you're currently in. So may it be time of day, day of week, your current location, or it's basically based off the device if you're trying to make a phone call. That context helps the consumer basically decide on what they're trying to look for. And though we're not able to target this today, and again, there's so many different things that we can do in terms of context, though we're not able to do this today, we actually believe that velocity is a strong indicator of context. The speed at which you are traveling helps determine the context of things that you are trying to figure out. And so let me give you a real life example here. Everyone here has heard of Priceline, very popular travel company. They have an app called the Priceline Negotiator app. And for Priceline, they are probably treating someone who books their hotel room 3 months for a trip 3 months from now much differently than someone who's planning a trip or trying to book their hotel room for tonight. So they look at them much differently. And so with the Priceline Negotiator app, it's able to recognize your location. As soon as you turn on the app, it recognizes that you're in Florida, and it'll give you suggestions of certain hotel rooms. And so Priceline put a study out, and within that study, what they found was that 52% of people using that app actually were booking rooms within 20 miles of their current location. Now, what's interesting about that study is that they found that, was it 50, 53, 35% of consumers were actually booking within a mile of the location. And what's even more surprising is that 82% of those people were booking either day of them arriving or within a day of arriving. So what does that mean for the Priceline app? It means that there's a lot of procrastinators who are booking their hotel rooms at the very last minute using this app. But it also means that consumers are actually booking when they're at the location that they're arriving at. It also means that they're looking for real-time data. They're using their mobile to look for real-time data to make real-time decisions. And as mobile marketers, you guys get it. A lot of mobile marketers are already starting to think about how do we target context? How do we target the right messaging based off their context? And again, we know that this is going to be challenging, and we know this is a huge opportunity, but with that huge opportunity, there's an added complexity. And at Google, as we mentioned earlier, we're developing tools to address this. With the announcement of our enhanced campaigns, that we will be able to help provide more tools to target the different contexts. And we think that this is even more important as the lines between the different devices are starting to blur. As I look around the room, I think I saw an iPad back there, and I've been in several meetings where customers are using tablets with keyboards, and they're using as their main laptops. Or I've seen devices such as I think the Lenovo Yoga, where you're able to, it's a laptop, but you flip it over and it becomes a tablet. And I think at CES this year, the term phablet became a reality, which is a phone/tablet, which is based off the Galaxy Note. Because of the blurring between these lines, it's becoming harder and harder for us marketers to say which device is the right device I should be targeting for my consumers, and which is why we believe that we should really be focusing more on context. Now, the second area is really understanding the full value of mobile. For mobile, with mobile, we're no longer seeing a linear path to purchase that ends up completing the purchase, the e-commerce purchase on the same device. We know that when consumers begin their path towards purchasing a product, that they will start on their phone, and they will definitely complete the purchase on the same device. But we're also noticing that consumers are starting on their phone, but maybe looking for a store locator. They're trying to actually find directions to the store. They're trying to find out if the store has the inventory that they're looking for. Or they actually want to call them, and so they'll start with the phone, call the store. And this past Q4, we learned a new term called showrooming, where the consumer will go into the store, check out the product, but pull up their phone and actually shop somewhere else. Either shop on their phone, go home, and complete the purchase on a different device. And with this, there's also different conversions. We have apps. A lot of marketers have apps that they're promoting our customers, and so you want to promote their app. Also, still drive traffic to their site. And on top of that, we're seeing that some of the conversions that we're seeing is starting on the phone, but completing it on a desktop. And it's because of this that we need to look at these conversions and reevaluate what is the value of these conversions. We can't just look at our old ways of marketing that we used to do with PC and apply the same logic. It's much different now in the mobile world. So here's a good example with Sears. So Sears has a lovely optimized landing page. But from it, you can see there's actually different types of conversions, where before we would only look at m-commerce as the main ways of measuring success for this type of site. Now we can look at m-commerce, and we can consider app downloads, we consider in-store, or click-to-call as a means of a conversion. So let's take an example of how we would figure this out when we work with our customers. So normally when we would look at mobile before looking at full value mobile, we would assume, say, a $600,000 investment within mobile, see about 10,000 conversions coming out at around $30, which would equate to about $300,000 return on investment, which is roughly less than 50%. Now, if we took the same advertiser who was doing this type of thing and really took a deeper dive into different metrics that they should be looking at within their site. For example, calls. Calls are a very important metric. People come to your site, they want to engage with you. So for this example, we looked at and they assumed a $3 value for each call that was coming through. Direction clicks. People looking for how to get to your actual physical store. And we put a value against that. App downloads, very, very important. App downloads is a way of basically retaining lifetime value for your customers. It's a way of bookmarking valuable landscape on your phone, and there's a value to that. So we take all these metrics and combine them together, where before we were at negative 50%, and we do the calculation, we're actually at a positive 30% in terms of ROI. And again, this is going to be based off of your analytics, off your conversion tracking, deep discussions with a lot of your companies or with internally. But we have to look at these different types of interactions and conversions in terms of understanding what is the full value of mobile. So let me give you a real life example here. Adidas. So Adidas and iProspect basically got together, and they had a strong feeling that when consumers went to their mobile site and when they clicked on the store locator, that a large percentage of those people were coming in store with the intent to purchase a product. And so iProspect and Adidas got together and figured out, let's roughly assume that 1 out of 5 people that actually clicked that store locator for this specific store was going to come into the store. So the 20%. From that, they knew that the intent of the consumer who was clicking on that link was probably much higher in terms of someone just walking into the store. So the intent to shop and purchase something was much higher. So where normally they would see a 13% conversion rate in store and a 71% average order value, they actually bumped it up because they knew this person was very active, raised their hand, they said, I'm coming in your store for something, I'm going to purchase something. And so from that, they were able to figure out that for every store locator click that came through, it was worth $3.20 to them. And again, this is a different way of thinking in terms of marketing, but this is how we have to start looking at mobile. Consumers are no longer looking for that linear path to purchase. And so we have to start thinking, what are other things that lead to these different other types of conversions? So in conclusion, we need to start, as marketers, start looking beyond devices. We really need to start understanding the context that the consumer is in and start targeting based off of that, not specifically off the devices, because again, these devices, the lines between each of these devices are starting to blur. Second, it's just fully understanding the value of mobile and what it can bring to your business. Understanding these little micro conversions on your site and how valuable are they to your business. And again, Google will be working with a lot of you guys on providing the right tools to be able to target by context and also understand some of these micro conversions. And with that, thank you.
Have any questions for Bob?
Any questions?
When you tell us who you are. Oh, my name is David Ip. I'm from Blue Cross Blue Shield. As you guys work through the conversions of the ROI, I would assume that's a very challenging part of it. Is there any scenarios where you've looked to put a metric against brand awareness campaigns and tying them into mobile?
Yeah, so the question is, have we looked at brand awareness as an additional? I think with brand awareness, that's an area that we're constantly looking at, what is the drive. So like, for example, I know that we have advertisers that have seen specifically from their brand campaigns lifts within their performance. And from those type of campaigns, we've taken those metrics and assumed a certain metric across the rest of their campaigns, and so we try to apply it. We don't have a case study that shows specifically this brand campaign resulted in this X performance, but we have seen it across the board that advertisers, depending on how they target it, right? If you're using interest-based targeting or placement targeting on specific apps that you know that that's where your users are, then we've seen higher performance overall.
Hi, my name is Mo Chara. I'm with Lenovo. And first of all, thank you for mentioning the Lenovo Yoga machine.
Sweet.
So quick question. I work in the global team, and we're trying to build a platform for mobile across the entire footprint of Lenovo. And I was wondering if you have any insight for us when looking at mature markets like the US, Canada, and others, and new emerging markets like Indonesia. They are highly contextual. So how do we differentiate the two, and how can we create some standardized content and platforms for mobile that can help both of the geographies?
I mean, I think earlier the Yes Mail team was talking about responsive design and base that off. And I think you can use responsive design based off the geolocations and be able to target that. We have the same challenges at Google. I think it was 5.5 years ago, when high-end devices were still taking off. Our challenge was how do we get into places like India, where they were mainly using WAP devices, and same with Japan, where their whole infrastructure was based off of WAP. I think slowly what you'll see is that consumers are going to start moving towards it. And you just have to make sure that you keep, you have to be where they're at, and you can't develop ahead of them and put like US tactics in India. And I think that for someone like Lenovo, you guys should fully understand that. It's just really targeting where they're at right now and giving them the additional value of why they need to be on those devices versus others, and using, I guess, based off of the technology that they are able to use in those countries, target accordingly. And again, Google was having the same challenges with all the countries that we're going into right now, and we're adapting to their environment versus us forcing it on them.
Does context really trump technology in the sense that, let's say, for instance, in the living room at night, in front of the TV, are you actually seeing similar behaviors on a laptop, on a tablet, on a smartphone so that context is really driving the behavior more than the technology?
We actually are. Again, depending on the device, let's take a phone and a tablet device and look at them differently. Tablet has just much more landscape, so there's more interactive in terms of what you can do with it versus a phone. But if we take it down to the core of what are people searching for, they're searching for the same things. I think one of the common questions I get is, are the keywords that people search for on mobile different than on desktop versus what's on tablet? And across the board, they're fairly equal. And so they're not. We don't think that they're interacting differently. It's just that the technology, in terms of what you can do within those devices, is much different. I mean, the tablet's becoming more of a couch, like a TV assistant, or what do you call it, a companion when watching TVs, because of the size of the screen and how you can interact with it. Where the phone is more, it's because it's always on you, it's always on the go, you're always connected. It's one of those immediate things where you initially pull it out. And I think, again, as more consumers have all three devices, you'll start seeing the segmentation of how they have the tablet at home and the mobile device is more for on the go.
Are you seeing any evidence, by the way, of the tablet migrating out of the home at all? As Wi-Fi becomes more ubiquitous, as the tablets themselves become more portable?
What was the question again?
Are tablets starting to migrate out of their sort of notorious place in the house now that they're becoming more portable and Wi-Fi is becoming more predictable?
Yeah, I mean, it still is, because you're still able to have that connectivity. I don't think it is quickly migrating outside of it. What we're finding is that because of the shipments of tablets and phones outpacing it and outpacing laptops and desktops, and because of what we've seen in terms of third-party data, the tablet's starting to become more of the main PC at home. And but the thing is that you have the option to go out, and because of the connectivity issue, because you can tether it to your phone, I think people are just more attached to that because of the portability factor.
Bon Mercado, thank you very much. Going to ask our